with that, we'll go ahead and take a few of your questions.
Can you take us through the events that led people within this administration to believe the vessel was thousands of miles away from its actual location?
Well, I mean, PACOM put out a release talking about the group ultimately ending up in the Korean Peninsula. That's what it will do. I think we were asked very clearly about the use of a carrier group in terms of deterrence and foreign presence and what that meant. I think that's what we discussed. I would refer you back to any other issues with that to the Department of Defense.
Does the President believe that he might have spoken too quickly on this location of the vessel before it was actually
President
arriving?
said we have an armada going towards the peninsula. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening. Yeah.
Sean, I just want to follow up on that. Obviously when the President of the United States says there's military hardware going to a region in the middle of a crisis on the Korean Peninsula, the allies of the United States are encouraged. When that happens to not be the case, they can interpret that as a false encouragement. So how is this White House explaining to South Korea and Japan that in fact during the build-up and the actual DPRK missile launch, there was no USS Carl Vinson off the coast of the
respectfully,
Korean
Jessica, I
Peninsula?
would ask you to either touch base with PACOM or the Department of Defense. The statement that was put out was that the Carl Vinson group was headed to the Korean Peninsula. It is headed to the Korean Peninsula. It'll arrive there. What's that?
It's headed there now. It wasn't headed there
Sure,
last
no,
week.
but that's not what we ever said. We said that it was heading there, and it was heading there. It is heading there. So that remains.
Allies had.
But if there's an impression, then that's not. Then there should have been clarification from people who were seeking it. But I mean, PACOM put out a release talking about what its ultimate destination was going to be, and that's where it ended up. Caitlin.
Why did the administration never clarify? Because it definitely, the intent in media reports was that it was headed there now, and now it's going to be there
But that
2 weeks
wasn't,
later.
with all due respect, that's not my. We were asked a question. I know, no, that's not true. What I was asked was what signal did it send that it was going there? And I answered that question correctly at the time, that it signaled foreign presence, strength, and a reassurance to our allies. That's a true statement. You're asking me why you didn't know better. I don't know. That's a question that should have been followed up with either PACOM or the Department of Defense. But the only question that we were asked was what signal it sends, and I think we answered that very correctly at the time.
Misleading. No one found out about it until a picture was posted on a
What do you mean? What part is misleading? I'm trying to figure that out. We were asked a question about what signal it sent. We answered the question on what signal it sent. I'm not the one who commented on timing.
What's misleading is that people thought it was headed there now, and now it's going to be there weeks later. They thought it was already headed there.
But again,
it was
that's
doing an exercise.
I understand the question, right? But what I'm getting at is, it was announced that it was going. It will be there. We were asked simply a question on that. I think all other questions should be asked of the Department of Defense. John, thank you guys very much. We'll have an event for you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one.